Okay, folks. We continue chapter 27. Chapter 27, one word, hihurim. Speaking about thoughts. And as we said, thoughts of a person, that's where truly indication of where we're at, what we think. But that being said, that's where we're at on the inside, but that doesn't mean that's where we are in our divine service, because it depends. If negative thoughts come in, sinful thoughts come into our head and we entertain them, so then that's wrong. It's a sin. If those negative sinful thoughts are pushed away, we're fulfilling a positive commandment, not going after our heart's desires, that our eyes stray, that our eyes see and stray us. So you should be happy. You can fulfill a positive commandment. The Alter Rebbe continues that you shouldn't feel depressed or very troubled at heart that these negative thoughts come in. You should be somewhat troubled, not very troubled, because you're not somewhat troubled, then that means you're not serious about the negative thoughts. So even if you're engaged a whole day with negative thoughts that come to your head and you're conflicted with them throughout the day, the Alter Rebbe says that perhaps that's why you were created. Powerful statement. Powerful statement that we're created to deal with those negative thoughts, to subdue the sitter acher, the other side, the negative forces that we have that are in us, that we subdue it at all times. And with this, the Alter Rebbe says we can understand what we brought up in chapter 1. Chapter 1, we quoted from Job, Ew. Then he made a statement. God, you created the righteous and you created the wicked. Well, Talmud asks, what do you mean? God doesn't create people to be righteous or to be wicked. It's a choice that you make. So the Alter Rebbe now clarifies, created here, the wicked, meaning the Beinani is like the wicked, meaning that what's preordained is not what you will be, but what's preordained is what your struggle will be. So the Beinani and us are preordained that we're going to be constantly struggling with negative thoughts, with sinful thoughts. And the choice that we have is to overcome them, meaning subdue them, not transform them. We will not be like the righteous. The righteous are someone who transforms the negativity, and the completely righteous have no struggle with negative thoughts. We're not going to be that. We're going to be constantly engaged in that. But that's what it means that God created, that Job says that God created the wicked, meaning that they have the struggle of wickedness within them. How do they have the struggle? In thought, not in speech, because once you say something wrong or you do something wrong, that's not a struggle anymore. That's losing the battle. The struggle is in the head, that the negative thought comes in. The negative thought comes in. How do we deal with it? Do we entertain it? Then we lost the struggle. We push it away and push it away again and again and again. Negative thoughts that come into our heads. This is what the Beinani was created for. Woo! Eternal battle, waging a war to avert the negativity, not to annihilate it like the tzaddik. But this, the Alter Rebbe explains something phenomenal. Did you ever notice in this world there are two physical pleasures that you can have? You can have pleasures of foods that are two types. One is that it's naturally sweet, like a banana is sweet. Other fruits are naturally sweet. And then there is like an eggplant. It's naturally bitter. What do you need? You need to season it. It's not advertising. It's an advertising for seasoning. In other words, some things are naturally bitter and we have to season it. There are some things that are dark in our lives, like our negative thoughts, and we have to season it. Meaning, just as there are two physical types of foods in this world, and as we've learned many times, everything in the physical world is an evolutionary process from the spiritual. Yes, we do believe in evolution from the spiritual to the physical, not any other kind. So the fact there are two physical types of foods in this world is because there's two spiritual ways to serve God, and ultimately through food too. One is that which is naturally sweet, and who is that? The righteous. They're sweet souls. They have no negativity in them. They don't have an urge in their heart urge in their heart at all that will give rise to an expression in their mind of something sinful, something negative. Not at all. They are sweet. But then there is the individual. There is the individual that what? The individual who's bitter. And we don't speaking here about bitter like they're nasty people, because that's sinful to be nasty in your actions, in your words. We're talking about bitter in that they have negative thoughts that come into their mind. I do, you do, we all do. If we're self-aware, then we're going to recognize it. The more self-aware, the more we're going to recognize it. And so we shouldn't get down on too much on that. Yeah, we should be actually recognized when it comes to be happy. Why? Because I can push it away. I can put my seasoning to the bitterness and now make it a dish that gives divine pleasure. God has divine pleasure from that. Powerful idea. That I can make a delicacy for God that is a divine pleasure above. I can't do what the righteous do, but there's two types of foods that we all like. Sweet and the sweet and sour. Why? Because it's sour and we had to season it to make it tasty. God has a delicacy from my work on myself that I have something bitter, that onion, that eggplant, and I season it properly. It becomes a delicacy on high that God loves. Amazing. That's enough to live with for the day, at least, if not more. Michael from Tallahassee, Florida, shalom. Elaine from Georgia, welcome. Sigali, thank you for sharing. That's beautiful. Glad that there's something that literally comes out of our learning together. That's great. Who else is with us? From Belgrade, it's Serbia. Herawa. I'm sure I got that wrong. I'm sorry. Isabel, shalom and welcome. Gregory also says hello. Sandy, good morning. Doran from Saskatchewan, shalom. Fellow Canadian. Linush from the Philippines, if I remember correctly. Remind me, Linush. Shmuel from the Minion. Sophia, good morning. Marjorie from Dania Beach, Florida. And John from Jupiter, Florida. Thank you for joining. Patricia, shalom. Idan from Andorra. Shalom. Tim from Texas. Boker Tov. Patricia. That's nothing. Maybe from Quebec. I'm not clear. Ed from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Thank you for joining. Tony is with us from Costa Rica. Bacha, good morning to you here in Montreal. Susan, Boker Tov in Florida. Katia, thank you for joining from not certain where. Susanna, Clem, Well, I don't know. I can't answer you, Clem. I'm not certain. Daron, the correct. So Daron is asking the concept of thought struggles, of what people with challenges of mental illness. I wonder on how perhaps in their suffering and struggle that they are close to God. Mm-hmm. You know, folks, think about it for a moment. Thank you, Darren, for bringing that up. Or Darren. Sorry, Darren. If we are commit ourselves and know that this is a delicacy and a pleasure to the divine, to God, that when I struggle with a negative thought, could you imagine what now someone who's got real mental illness or someone's got real whatever issues, but let's say for most of us, if we struggle there, then the other issues in life, the other things, whatever, it's going to be a very different way to live, and the challenges will be a very different challenge. We will be, even if we sometimes entertain the negative thought, but likely we won't speak it or act upon it, being aware that, you know, that this is where the struggle is. And boy, is that going to change the world for good. Shaheen, good morning to you in New York. Okay. Silas from Brazil, Golda from the US, Josephine from Vancouver, Nicole from Atlanta, Joel from LA. On Instagram, we have Khani from the UK. Marilyn from Delaware, from Argentina. All right, folks. Powerful things to live with. Please share with others. A reminder, Tanya Rabbi on Instagram, or the Tanya Rabbi. If you go Tanya Rabbi, you'll also get an Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on Twitter. I give a 1 minute synopsis of what we just learned. So you can share it there, share it here. Sharing is caring. Please share with others. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zich and Kadeshim. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful